Hi everyone, this is daveac.blog.tv and this is my vblog 146 for Friday the 6th of May 2011. Yes, it's the curse of the spoiler, the rise of the podcast and the promise of a wine. Yes, all in around 15 minutes, wine at the end. Well, first of all, let me just take this opportunity to, if you've been watching my vlogs for some time and you've caught a number of them, let me thank you for your continued support in watching these. I do enjoy doing the vlogs, but it's always nice to know that there are people out there watching them, either from the blip.tv site, from my Facebook page, or from the new worldtv.com site, or indeed anywhere else on the internet you find it. Of course, it's also on my daveac 100 YouTube page. So if you're watching it and a regular watcher, thank you. If this is the first one, please have a look back at the back catalogue. Almost 150 episodes for you to check out. Okay, the curse of the spoiler, the rise of the podcast, and the promise of a wine. Let's get on with it, David. Well, firstly, let's talk about the podcasting. And on the Sunday that's just gone, of course, I should mention, of course, that we had a really good week, second week of Doctor Who, the second part of the two-part opening story. We'd have the Impossible Astronaut, and we have the very good Day of the Moon. A little bit of uncertainty at the end in terms of there were still so many unanswered questions, and I'm not going to spoil it here, but there was a really big surprise at the end of episode 2. And if you're in one of those countries like New Zealand, haven't watched it yet, you're in for a great treat. It didn't take any prisoners in terms of letting you into the story gently. It got Doctor Who off the 2 episodes together with a bang. So Doctor Who is most firmly back on our TVs and our Saturday night viewing here in the UK and quite a number of other countries too. So we are all excited. And of course, the Cullman Collective on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we did on Touch ID 54821 our review of part 2 of that 2-part story, which of course was Day of the Moon. And I think it was a pretty good show. We ran just under 2 hours because there was a little bit of a time issue. We didn't have any news this time, so you haven't got to plough through 10, 20, 30 minutes of news. It's almost straight into the review of Day of the Moon. And I should also say that during the middle of the week, we put up our commentary. That was the one that Ian, Mike and myself did. That's the Water, Wine and Ham did our commentary Day of the Moon. That is also up on the feeds. And I'll just finish off by our Cullman news by saying, of course, this coming Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Touch ID 54821, we will be doing our episode 98, The Curse of the Black Spot. Now, it was a very busy Sunday because the Gallifreyan Embassy, Doctor Who Hot Choc, did their live episode on Torch U. Their ID on Torch U is 23358. And unfortunately, Ken and James were unable to help Lewis out. So myself, daveac, and Graham, they said Ian, Graham Sheridan, the second Doctor, stepped in to help Lewis. I provided some of the clips, and Lewis had a really good show, ran for over 2 hours. Because it had been a holiday in the United States last weekend, the episode, and it's episode 244 of Doctor Who Hot Choc, covers both parts of the Doctor Who season opener, The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon, and it runs for nearly 2 hours 10 minutes. That is, of course, on the podshot.net page, and of course on iTunes. So there will not be a Podshot next Sunday because in the States it's Mother's Sunday in the United States. So Lewis is again going to wait 2 weeks, and then he's going to do a doubled up episode again, talking about the curse of the black spot, and then episode 4, the Doctor's wife. So lots of podcasting news. And while I'm still on podcasting news, tomorrow on Saturday I hope to be helping out Russell Hale, Ramble with Russell, on his 250th podcast. I mentioned about Russell last week, so I won't give anything more about that, but hopefully that will be on the feed soon. Excuse me for that. I'm going to carry on if you don't mind. Okay, let me just say that if you are into podcasts, there are hundreds of them about. I was just checking most recently again the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance, all one word, .org, just to see that our latest one had gone up on the feeds. And the list there is unbelievable now. They must be getting on for nearly 50 Doctor Who are podcasts that take Doctor Who as part of their remit. Cullman Collective, of course, we cover lots more things than Doctor Who, but that is our one central theme that we always go back to, especially when Doctor Who is airing new episodes. So do give that a look. Just put Doctor Who Podcast Alliance in Google and you'll find the place, I'm sure. And you can actually listen to the individual podcasts on that page directly. Okay, let's just finish off with a little bit of Doctor Who news and then we'll carry on. One piece of sad news, and this is reading again from the Doctor Who news page, doctorwhonews.net. Oliver Elms, this is the gentleman who did a lot of the credits on BBC shows like Elizabeth R, The Goodies, The Good Life, Multicoloured Swap Shop and Top of the Pops. He designed, and I think these were the first computer designed introductory graphics to Doctor Who, the 7th Doctor's title sequence. And unfortunately, sadly, this gentleman has just died. So it is always sad when we lose anybody, but when we have somebody from the Doctor Who world, such a long-running show, us fans get upset, really. Okay, there's an awful lot of news filtering out, of course, now on the page. Arthur Darvill is going to be starring in a play, Dr. Faustus. There's news about the BBC iPlayer. Oh, and some tech news while I'm at it. There's a new version of the desktop BBC iPlayer in the UK, and it's now up to version 3.2.6. But yes, the Impossible Astronaut, 1.5 million downloads in the first 12 days. Already, Day of the Moon has had over 1 million downloads. Both these programs, by far the biggest downloads from the BBC iPlayer, and those numbers add into the total downloads, of course, and the rating of Doctor Who. And I'm just going to mention, before I go on to some other item here, there's also a new magazine, first issue of a new partwork magazine, the Doctor Who Monster Invasion, launched by BBC Magazines. And this is one of these collectible trading cards magazines where you get the magazine and you get packs of cards to start collecting. So that is now out. And of course, there's also news on there, this little clips about the curse of the black spots, and there's information about the chart positions and all sorts of things. Doctor Who magazine version 434. Get it right, David. Doctor Who magazine 434 is now out with a slightly spoiler title on the front: Meet the Doctor's Wife. Okay, now I haven't got any music today, and I haven't really got a book, but I have got some printed material. Yes, I've got a different magazine. It's the FSF Magazine with a massive exclusive Doctor Who piece in it. Now, I don't buy many of these magazines now. I used to buy an awful lot of computer magazines and that, but I've had to cut down. But this is one, my son was over last week and he left this for me. Really great article here about Doctor Who with lots of lovely pictures of the main stars. There's one there. I'm not going to show you, no point trying to show you the print. Really, really good. And there's also an item about, on page 126, about the new Doctor Who experience. So all I'm trying to say is the FSF magazine which, by the way, is one of the magazines that we've referred to on a number of occasions with the Cullman Collective, using their polls as basis for some of our shows. But yeah, I'm really enjoying having a read of that. So it is worthwhile now and again, if you're not a big comic or magazine collector, just occasionally to keep an eye on these magazines, especially if you've got a particular show like, say, Smallville's coming to the end or something like that, and they're doing a special on it. It even came with a little treat. This was attached to it. Let's see what it does. Thought that was great. Yeah, a little freebie that came with the magazine. Blimey, I've been talking for 10 minutes and I'm hardly got on. I'll have to cut something out here. Let me have a look. I'll just look what I can cut out. Yes, just let me mention. Yes, one of the things that really got me excited about the new Doctor Who was that it reminded me of an old Fourth Doctor story from the classic Doctor Who. And this is slightly spoilerish because, as I said, curse of the spoiler. I'm always worried when I do these that I will say something that will spoil it for somebody. So let me just say, you could probably skip on a couple of minutes if you're absolutely worried about being spoiled, because I know that there's been things on the internet. I've commented about spoiler pictures I've seen, and I know one or two people, like Adam Purcell from Staggering Stories, was really upset with some of the spoilers he saw before the episode aired. But I picked very carefully, I think. Yes, this is a DVD I have, the Doctor Who Invasion of Time story. I mentioned and talked about this on episode 81 of this vlog, but there was a few things referenced in that reminded me of the story, and then on spoilerish one I'm not going to mention. But one of the little things, and I'm going to mention it now, is that in part 2, one of the things that gets mentioned is the fact that the TARDIS has a swimming pool in it. Now, a lot of older fans will know about that, and indeed in the new series it was mentioned last on the 11th hour. That was the very first outing of Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor. So I've set up part of the film, and we're just going to have a very little clip. Now my computer's jerking a little bit on this video, so I'm hoping that it will play okay. So let's go while things are working. Here we go. This is the Fourth Doctor and Leela and another person, I'm not going to say who, inside the TARDIS. Keep going. Keep going.
Store on 23A. Where'd you go? The workshop. Of course I am.
And that, of course, is, well, actually, they've used that for the swimming pool on a number of occasions inside the TARDIS. Yes, one of the things that long-time fans have been a little bit concerned about in New Doctor Who. In fact, you just got a look at it there, didn't you? When I played that, we see the console room, but we don't seem to see much else of the TARDIS. And a lot of us are hoping that one day soon we'll get to see more of the inside of the TARDIS. So, by the way, I can highly recommend that, The Invasion of Time. Okay, well, that's about it, I think. I think it's time for the wine. Okay, last thing, and the promise of a wine. But I must admit, I'm not holding out a lot of promise for this wine, because although I do quite often buy wines that are only £5 or £6, they're usually ones that have been reduced to that price. They're usually £8 wines, so that means they're sort of $12 to $15, certainly $10 to $15 in value. This is actually a wine that caught my eye because it was so modestly priced. Rosewater Park, Shiraz, Southeastern Australia, 2010. And we're going to zoom in and hopefully it will give us a nice clear image. Freeze frame it as soon as it does. Please, this stage of the show. Curses. Curses. Now, why is that not focusing? Well, I'm going to give up on that. That's ridiculous. There we are. There we are. Freeze frame. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do the whole show again for that because I've already had to do it twice with that little video freezing up for me. So let's have a little taste. It's been poured out. It's quite a light coloured red, but I must admit, it says on here that I'm supposed to be getting a lovely perfumed aroma coming across. And I'm afraid I'm just getting a rather musty smell, really, in all truth. Oh, and that is rather tart. That is rather sharp. That doesn't have the blackcurrant flavour of a Shiraz. That's more red berry, but very much on the tart side. I'm trying to breathe some life into it, but let me have another taste. Now, that is disappointing, even at that price. I'm sorry. I will show it again, but not because I'm recommending it. I'm showing it so you can steer clear of it. Rosewater Park. If you're in the supermarket, you see that, decide and spend an extra couple of quid. Get some Casella del Diablo, if you can never pronounce, or one of those Hardys, or a nice Lindeman's wine, and one of the many others that you've perhaps seen on my videos with tasting. But disappointing end to the podcast, I'm afraid, especially with it not focusing. Well, perhaps even the video couldn't stand it. Okay, with that, this is daveac for vblog 146 saying catch you next week, and don't forget to enjoy Doctor Who, The Curse of the Black Spot. Bye all.